Welcome back to That Ain't Black podcast. I got a really special guest. He's a big man here in Seattle in the coffee business from Boon Boona. Got that right?
You got that right.
Efram Fesaha. And man, really great to get you on the show, man. It's really hard to get you on down there, but I'm really glad you showed up, man. So what's up with the coffee business, man? Because everybody knows that coffee in Seattle is it's everything. We're the kind of ones who started here in Seattle, went all over the country and everything. And you gotta get your coffee in the morning. If I don't get my coffee in the morning, I'm grumpy, getting the big old fights, irritable. Everybody drinks coffee. My mom, in fact, before he came here, my mom said, "Stop by the store and get her some coffee."
Definitely.
So what's up with you, the Boon Boona Cafe, man?
I appreciate it. First of all, it's an honor to be here. Super grateful for the call to be here. And man, I'm so happy to, get to share my story. Grateful to share it. And I'm gonna start off by you said it started off here.
No, of course it didn't start. It started in the United
okay.
States of America. It's kind of it went all over. I know it started. You're from Eritrea, right?
I know what you meant.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So actually, it started in Ethiopia. So the word coffee itself is derived from a village in Ethiopia called Kaffa. Kaffa, Ethiopia, is the birthplace of coffee. That's where it all started from, and that's about 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
From Kaffa, Ethiopia, it started to travel around the region. It started to be consumed a little bit more. Then it went across into Yemen. From Yemen, it went up into Turkey into Europe. Europeans took it to Indonesia, and then took it to Central South America, and that was like the 1500s and such.
Wow.
And so, but it's been consumed in East Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, for about 1,000 years. And the story goes, it started from a kid named Chaldees. And Chaldees was a goat herder by trade. And so he would take his goats up into the mountains, and they would go, the goats are eating, and, he's relaxing, takes a nap. He wakes up to hear his goats make a whole bunch of noise. He goes to check on them, and they're chewing on these little red cherries. And he's not familiar with it. He sees how the goats are acting up, and he's worried, so he takes a branch of it back down to the village, shows the elders. Elders look at it and say, we're not familiar with this. We're just going to throw it away. They throw it into a fire. It starts to cook. And they smell the sweet aroma. And they were like, okay, let's try it as well. So they take out one of those beans and they start to chew on it. And they also noticed that they got that same kick.
Yeah.
And that was that caffeine kick. That's what those goats were showing. And so Chaldees has kind of been attributed with it, kind of myth, kind of truth, who knows. But, and that story, different variations for sure, too, depending on who you're asking. But Chaldees is kind of considered the person that found coffee in Ethiopia, in Kaffa. More, and that history is starting to get told a little bit more. I think that, the narrative, the marketing, that, coffee came from Italy, or even the imprint that, the big dog here in this city has, is definitely known or whatnot. But truly, the importance of, one, the history of coffee consumption in Africa, but then two, that it originates out of there. And like Ethiopia's number 3 or 4 exporter of coffee. It's I think the first or second thing that's most exported out of the country. So it's a very rich history, and it all surrounds itself around a lot, primarily around Black history, and then especially now with Brazil, Colombia, and such, Black and brown as well involved. But 95% of us are the ones that pick the cherries, and then as soon as it gets onto a ship, mysteriously it changes colors. And so that's kind of where I think that there's an opportunity for coffee industry to kind of change, wake up and make some improvements, and then also for us to hear that story. I think that when you get much more excited about something that came from you, came from us, right?
Exactly,
it's ours.
Exactly.
And so there's that pride too. I think that also is beautiful. That should be shared.
Yeah, because in your culture,
that was long.
No,
that was a long
cool,
answer,
man.
there.
It's cool. But in your culture, you guys actually roast the stuff. Normally, the average person just goes in the local cafe or restaurant or wherever, 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
What's so significant about that roasting?
You're right about that. You're right about that. That's a good point, and that's how we consume our coffee. And I'll kind of break it down a little bit there, where basically, like, imagine I kind of try putting people back into that space of like you're in the village,
Uh-huh.
and you've got your coffee trees that grow abundantly around you. And so
Uh-huh.
let's just say you pick the cherries, you clean off those cherries, and you're left with these two little green seeds,
Mhm.
basically. Those two green seeds, you collect a few of them, you put it on a pan, and you start to roast it over a
Mhm.
fire.
Mhm.
Once it browns up, which is the color that we're more familiar with at the cafe, it's in those hoppers,
Mhm.
that brown, that dark color sometimes too, of roasted beans. Now you've got a roasted coffee.
Mhm.
You'll take that. We would, use motor pestle basically and pound it
Mhm.
and grind it up.
Mhm.
And once we grind it up, then we put it into a clay pot. And clay
Mhm.
pottery, of course, is something that we've used as humans, forever.
Yeah.
And so it only makes natural sense. We're going to put the coffee grounds inside this clay pot. It's called a
Mhm.
jebana.
Mhm.
We add water to it, and we put the coffee grounds with the water inside
Mhm.
this clay pot on top of a fire.
Mhm.
And it starts to brew.
Mhm.
And we start pouring it out and start drinking our coffee. And
Mhm.
it's a little bit more it's maybe about 4 ounces. So like your espresso,
Mhm.
typically if you're getting that at a cafe, is about 2 ounces, maybe an ounce if you're getting like a ristretto, but like 2 ounces, let's just
Mhm.
say. But this is a little bit more, so it's about 4 ounces a cup. It's a little bit more diluted, so there's a little bit more water to it than an
Mhm.
espresso. Espresso is
Yeah.
kind of thicker or whatnot. So, but this cup of coffee is how we've been consuming coffee forever. Like, I mean, that's,
Mhm.
after Chaldees found what he found and it
Yeah.
was just being chewed on as a seed,
Uh-huh.
as a roasted seed, then it moved into that whole entire next phase of it, which was grinding it,
Mhm.
adding water to it, and brewing it.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of what helped take it off. And
Uh-huh.
then it gets to Yemen, and then it gets to Turkey, and in Turkey the style changes a little bit.
Mhm.
There's different tools that they use there, and basically, as the world starts to get exposed to coffee, these different traditions come into play.
Mhm.
Now, the one that we're most familiar with is an espresso machine that we see
Yeah.
at our local cafe.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's only about 150 years old,
Mhm.
basically, since it was produced, and maybe less
Yeah.
than that, actually.
Wow.
And that was produced in Italy and I think part of Germany. I think it
Mhm.
was, but Italians really, really took it off and patented and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you look at the Jebana, which has been in use for like, let's say 700, 900 years,
Wow.
and then espresso machine,
Yeah.
which is about 100 years old.
Yeah.
You kind of get that, perspective of kind of like the history behind the coffee. And so that tradition that what we call having coffee, we
Mhm.
also refer to it as like the Ethiopian coffee ceremony,
Uh-huh.
Eritrean coffee ceremony, or East African coffee ceremony. Um, and basically, it's something that we do every day,
Mm.
almost every day.
Mhm.
There's a section dedicated in our houses typically for where that ceremony happens.
Mhm.
And it's considered a ceremony only because, once again, it's how we get our coffee, but then two, like we'll light incense, we'll have
Mhm.
food, we'll we'll sprawl things out,
Mhm.
and the reason we do that is that it's a form of hospitality.
Uh-huh.
So as a guest coming into someone's house, someone, the person that you're visiting, the host should more than likely offer you tea or
Yeah.
coffee.
Uh-huh.
And if they're doing coffee, they're going to do this whole entire ceremony for
Mhm.
you. And it's a time in which we get to see the process happen, from green coffee to
Mhm.
roasted coffee to brewed coffee to consuming it,
Mhm.
as well as we're eating all these snacks around us.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's that experience that allows us to kind of also get to share what's going on in each other's world.
Uh-huh.
And so over the course of an hour,
Mhm.
sometimes 3, 4 hours,
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the conversation's good, it's just gonna keep going.
Uh-huh.
And you're drinking this coffee and eating this delicious food. And there's no wrong time to have it.
Yeah.
We'll have it in the mornings, we'll have it in the evenings.
Uh-huh.
It could be a time of mourning. So we
Mhm.
lost someone.
Mhm.
We're gonna have a coffee ceremony.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to cry.
Mhm.
We're going to share over it. And then if it's a time of joy, also we'll have the coffee ceremony too.
Mhm.
But it's what we gather around
Uh-huh.
basically, and so it's a big part of East African culture, Ethiopian culture, Eritrean culture, and such. And there's different traditions within
Mhm.
each tribe basically. So
Uh-huh.
let's go even further deeper. We
Mhm.
got countries, but within those countries we have a lot of tribes,
Yeah.
and each tribe will approach it differently.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
you got different types. How many beans do you guys deal with? I mean, like
Oh man,
variety.
Varieties, it's a lot of different varieties that we'll play with, but we'll source from any country on the continent that's
Uh-huh.
got coffee, and we're only the continent I'm referring to is Africa,
Yeah.
because we only source African coffees. But I mean, if it tastes good,
Yeah.
great. But
Yeah.
we want to know about what else is going on there.
Mhm.
Who are we supporting? What's the cause out there? Um, and so, coffee is unique in kind of like I was explaining earlier in that it's like apples, you'll
Mhm.
have different varietals, no different than grapes of wine,
Yeah.
grapes for wine.
Yeah.
You'll have different varieties. And so
Uh-huh.
the varieties there's hundreds
Yeah.
of varieties, and especially as getting a little bit more sophisticated with kind of creating blends, and no different
Mhm.
than what happens in the in the cannabis industry and the weed industry,
Mhm.
where like you'll create your own kind of breeds and such.
Uh-huh.
Things like that happen within coffee as well.
Uh-huh.
And so there's hundreds
Uh-huh.
of different species, but then it's also the country that it comes in, because then now you're talking about, is it arid, is it, is it dry, is it very wet there, is it more rainforest like,
Mhm.
under what circumstances is the soil in, is it shade grown, is there
Mhm.
banana trees growing next to it or not, things like that. And
Yeah.
that will also affect the outcome of that bean as well.
Mhm.
What elevation was it at when it was growing?
Mhm.
um, all those factors play, right? Because coffee can grow in Mexico, it can grow in Hawaii, it can grow in Indonesia, it can grow in, Burundi, in
Ooh.
Kenya, and so, and it produces different outcomes in each place. And
Yeah.
it could be the same coffee. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
you could take that same coffee and roast it. And, if the two of us were to take a coffee and roast it,
Uh-huh.
we both have two different roast profiles, basically.
Mhm.
And we're going to try it. It's going to taste very different.
Uh-huh.
So, but I can nerd out on coffee.
Wow, no,
To,
you definitely got a
to,
passion about it, man. You're
uh,
really, really into it. It's just like wine, I guess. The people, they have their passion. You just have a passion for
yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
So what about Boon Boona? What's that
yeah.
name from? What is that in?
That's a great
Yeah.
question. Great question. Boon is how we say coffee primarily in Eritrea.
Uh-huh.
Buna is how one says coffee primarily in Ethiopia, but the
Uh-huh.
words bun or buna are both used for the same words, which is coffee. And
Mhm.
even in parts of Kenya, Sudan, bun or buna will be used,
Mhm.
and even in different parts of the world,
Uh-huh.
as well. But bun buna coffee is really just saying coffee, coffee, coffee.
Mhm.
Three different languages,
Mhm.
and the bun and buna is really to emphasize on the history and kind of you know
Mhm.
speak to that.
Yeah.
Just like you asked me right now, like it gives me an opportunity to share that history, share that information,
Mhm.
so that there's more understanding as to kind of where it comes from.
Mhm.
And so, Boon Boona Coffee was it just worked. It just
Mhm.
worked, and fortunately, I had like family around when they were kind of like helping me kind of come up with a
Uh-huh.
name for it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we've been very fortunate to utilize that name, but then also you'll see it in our logo where it's written out
Mhm.
in the language that is used,
Mhm.
in the alphabet that is used for those languages
Mhm.
in East Africa. And so that is, the parent language is Giz.
Mhm.
And so you'll see, this kind of like upside down U,
Mhm.
and some characters underneath it, but all it says is Boon Boona.
Mhm.
But in the languages of spoken in East Africa, basically in
Mhm.
Eritrea and Ethiopia primarily.
What made you want to get it? Because it's really overwhelming. I
Yeah,
mean, in Seattle, it's everywhere.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody's addicted to this stuff
yeah.
all around America and everything. And I mean, what made you want to put your 2 cents in? I
You're
mean,
right
put your
about that.
foot in the.
I don't know why.
Because how long
Nah,
you been there?
there was a reason why. I mean, there was
Uh
a reason. I had I grew up with that culture. I grew
huh.
up with seeing the coffee ceremony. Never really got to take part. One, I
Hmm.
was too young, and then when I got of age, like I really didn't
Yeah.
care for it all that much.
Yeah.
And so I saw it growing up, but that wasn't what sparked the interest. It wasn't until I took a trip, a little bit about my background, but like I grew up in White Center, West Seattle
Uh huh.
area, went to Rox Hill, Denny, and South, and then went to WSU. And when I came back, I got into my corporate job, and I was just
Hmm.
working, corporate finance basically.
Hmm.
And so I was working my day job, and I was just going and going and going. And then 2008, 2010, like,
Hmm.
that was a financial crisis. And
Yeah.
and being in finance at the time, like I was working pretty heavy. I was, there was layoffs and cutbacks and stuff like that. And so I was fortunate enough to like still have a job and keep working, but I was working really hard. And so I got burnt out.
Yeah.
And I was in my 20s and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go travel. And so took up my backpack and for 6 months I went and traveled. I went to like England, I went to Greece, to Turkey, but a lot of my time was spent back on the motherland. I was in Eritrea for 3 months. And when I was there, like I got to see what life would have been like if I never moved here. I would have been a farmer. I would have been working on the field, and just to kind of see that life and just imagine. And I'm fortunate to have this opportunity I have here for sure, but like just to kind of go live that, that life and to see it and to understand it a little bit more, have a greater appreciation. That was the purpose of the trip. When I was there, I also saw, how coffee was handled there. Eritrea was colonized by Italy for a period of about 50 years. And in that time, they left espresso machines and things like that as well. And so in the capital city, Asmera, like you'll walk through the town and you'll find tons of cafes. And so I would frequent one in particular, Tre Stelle, and I just loved the entire experience there. People were there hanging out, spending time there. The drinks were delicious, but like the whole atmosphere, you could smell freshly roasted coffee inside the space. And it was like, all right, like this is different. I grew up in Seattle, I'm very well aware of, Starbucks' rise and such, and Tully's and all the other players out of here. But I never saw it that way. So I said, all right, I think maybe I could do something different in this space. And so when I returned back, I basically spent 2 months just like working on a business plan and financial plan and saying, I think I want to go into coffee and I want to do it this way. And so I took that idea to a few banks and they were like, no, like, who are you? What? No. And basically it was like, I didn't have the money for it anyways, but, and so it was like, what kind of experience do you have and how are you going to compete with all these other folks? And, the same,
like
the
I
same
said,
thing.
it's overwhelming. Starbucks is the big boy. They
Exactly.
crushing everybody,
Exactly. And so I was like, that's not my intent. That's not my desire. That's not where I want to go. It's not what I'm trying to accomplish. And of course, like, there's a cultural difference. I'm going to have to explain this history. I'm going to have to, and they're bankers at the end of the day. They're like, we understand that this works. We understand how that model works. How are you going to be able to replicate it or do it better than them? I'm like, that's not the approach. And so I said, okay, maybe I can't do what I built out or drew up right now to do, but I'll give it some time. And so by the time, so about 4 months, 5 months passed, and it's about March of 2012. And I'm like, all right, like, I want to incorporate it. I want to still make the move on this. It was like a burning desire of like, you need to do this. Like, and so I did all that work, created the name and all that stuff. And then I started reaching out to family that I had in Ethiopia and started asking them, hey, where do you get coffee from? What's the source? And I was able to get small amounts of it and just start playing with the coffee. And with that became kind of like this deep dive into learning more about it, becoming more familiar with it. Because I had this, approach that I had designed, but I wasn't really familiar with roasting and brewing and all that stuff. And so I wanted to get more familiar. As I was doing that, my family saw that I had green coffee, the raw product, and they were like, hey, Efram, like, can we get your coffee? Because the stuff that we buy, it's just in a Ziploc bag at your local, neighborhood, mom and pop grocery store. And it just says the dollar amount. We don't know where it's from. We don't know, the quality.
Exactly.
But they were like, we know you're getting good stuff. So I started giving that to my family and they started playing with it and roasting it and having the ceremony. And then, of course, when my mom does it, then the aunties are over, friends are over. And so word's kind of getting around. And they're like, Efram, could you give us more? And so I saw that as the opportunity. So I started packaging green coffee and putting it into like a lot of the East African mom and pop grocery stores throughout the Seattle area. And not just Seattle, but like King County area. Because a lot of it was like in the South, in like the SeaTac, Tequila area. So Tawakal, Tabarak, Somali women-owned grocery stores were some of the first ones to give me that opportunity. And so I was very fortunate enough to get coffee there, and this is probably 2014, 2015, and
Mhm.
2014. And from that period on, for about 3 years, all I did was just focus on green coffee distribution.
Mhm.
So I'd source from Ethiopia, I'd get it to the grocery stores, and after we started moving more here in this area in King County, then I started looking at LA, started taking it down there to the Bay Area, to
Mhm.
Atlanta, to Dallas, and to Toronto, Vancouver, and all these other
Mhm.
cities to just start moving more coffee,
Mhm.
more green coffee, because
Mhm.
you can't buy green coffee at like a Safeway or grocery store. It's
Didn't
not
know that.
available. Yeah, it's only roasted coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole coffee section is just roasted coffee.
Yeah.
So the green, the raw product is not available.
Yeah.
And that's tradition what East Africans want is
Mhm.
the green coffee. So
Mhm.
I was providing something that they weren't able to readily, easily get, and also
Mhm.
of quality and consistency.
Mhm.
So by 2016, started getting into roasted coffee a little bit more. And then by 2018, I kind of said, all right, like I've got some history, I've, got numbers to show kind of what I've
Mhm.
been doing. I've got a track record of my experience now. Let me go back to the banks.
Mhm.
So I go back to the banks and they're like, no,
Damn.
we still don't trust you.
Serious?
Yeah, we still don't trust you. But it was the smaller banks. It was like CDFIs, community development funds.
Uh-huh.
So like the Craft Threes, the Rainier Valley Community Development Funds,
Mhm.
Business Impact, or what. Like there's these organizations that are
Mhm.
smaller banks,
Yeah.
basically, that are more in tune with things that are going on in the community and
Yeah.
are more willing to kind of say, hey, like, okay, I see what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
and we'll go out on a limb
Yeah.
a little bit more so
Uh-huh.
than like a big bank who's going to be like,
Yeah,
no,
forget it. Yeah.
forget it. So then we were able to get a small loan and then get started with building out our space in Renton. And
Mhm.
that was January 2019 when we opened up the doors there.
Wow, because that's a
Yeah,
big place down in Renton. I was
yeah,
impressed. I was like, man, this ain't no little small little.
yeah.
It's a big place. You have one in the Central District also.
Yes, and the CD, it's a 12th and James, and that's about 1,500 square feet, but it's a beautiful
Yeah.
cafe. We had a lot of artists contribute to the space to help beautify it. It's a great team there,
Mhm.
and then you get all of our coffee supply. All of those options are available. There's a back room, meeting room as well,
Mhm.
and so we've been really, really grateful for that opportunity. It's right across from Seattle University as well,
Uh-huh.
so we get a lot of students during the school year, but it's just in a great neighborhood as well.
Mhm.
A neighborhood that we all, grew up in and very
Yeah.
familiar with. And so it's great to be back there, especially by having Metier up the street from us and then,
Mhm.
Communion on Union and just all these great places around us. So very, very fortunate as to where our second spot is. But, to Renton is where we do all of our roasting.
Yeah, because I noticed that
Yeah.
you walked in and they're actually roasting it here on the spot, and I was
Yeah.
really impressed with that because those machines are big and huge.
Yeah.
So you don't even just back there with a frying pan, kind of Jimmy rigs and
Yeah.
stuff. You
Yeah.
guys are
Nah.
really doing it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even at the time when we got that roaster, we were like, man, this is huge. We know
Yeah.
if we're gonna ever maximize it, we're getting to a place now where we are, and so it's that
Mm.
roaster, the team behind it as well. They're
Mm.
incredible, really talented, and they're led by a really good individual. His name's Ali, and
Mm.
Ali's our coffee director, and he is like, I
Mm.
mean, you think I'm a coffee nerd? Like he is
Yeah.
another level, and
Wow.
he is so like passionate about
Mm.
the approach and what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and his main responsibility outside of just finding coffee is
Mm.
those relationships back on the continent,
Uh-huh.
and establishing them. He was out in Rwanda this summer where he got to spend some time with some of our producers, some of our farmers there, and come back with different causes for us to work with,
Mm.
different producers to work with. And so we're very fortunate to have that space, the team.
Mm.
Of course, we have a cafe there, and pre-pandemic, all throughout 2019, we used to do pop-ups and
Mm.
events, and we're wanting to get back to it. Obviously this year has opened up a little bit more,
Mm.
and we're hoping that we can kind of get back to it. But 2019, we would do things with the library, we would do things with open enrollment for health care,
Mm.
for Washington, for Apple Care, um, you know, food innovative networks,
Mm.
Chef Tarek with Feed the People, and just different organizations, and it was just like
Mm.
it was just like we'd hear about somebody
Mm.
wanting to do something and we'd be like, all right, yeah, let's go.
Mhm.
Ice cream, shaved ice, all these different things. It was just beautiful to see it, and we're wanting to get back to it. We just realized that we want to do it. We want to do it really efficiently, and and also be safe with it. And as things are opening up more and more, we're definitely at that point here.
What about being a black business owner in
Yeah.
Seattle? Because a lot of black businesses in Seattle. Was that kind of, you take
Yeah.
going down a limb there because we're minority and stuff.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It's very lonely. It's very lonely, and when you see someone else doing coffee, or you see a black person in business, I mean, what I received is what I'm trying to reciprocate. And so
Yeah.
what I received was, you know, I still remember those Somali women own stores who were like, "Oh no, let's put your product in here.
Yeah.
We'll try helping you out," and I've got to reciprocate that. And so whether it's pop-ups or whatever, it's doing that. But coming into coffee, especially,
Yeah.
very lonely.
Yeah.
You go to tastings, or to festivals, or just kind of even meetings and such, and you're the only black person there.
Yeah.
And it's especially when you know the history, and when you also know that the ones that are producing it
Yeah.
are
Like us. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
us.
Exactly.
And so it's just like you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
There's a problem here. And so that's so that problem needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
Or we need to make some movement into that space for sure. And then two, it's that experience it's tougher to get financing.
Yeah.
It's tougher to get that lease. It's tougher to get that opportunity. The list of challenges are huge.
Yeah.
No one is really going to be like, oh yeah, I see you, let's go.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was very challenging in that space. It still is. It's not like our bank is ever like, yo, Efram, yeah, here goes money. No, it still knows from them. So it is very challenging. But I think that once again, what I had seen or what I had received needs to be I need to reciprocate that. So that's a responsibility on me.
Yeah.
And so collaborating, opening up our doors to have events inside there that bring in our community, that reflects our community, that's important to me. And so that's what we strive to do. And I mean, of course, yeah, the nature of our business is sourcing from Africa, but that's one aspect. Here locally, we need to do something. We need to be an active member in our local community as well. And so, yeah, putting attention on Africa and the work that is being done there, and the history that is there, that it goes beyond just a safari, and it goes beyond just coffee even, or gold or diamonds or whatever, that it's the people there, and highlighting them and the work that they do. That's important.
Yeah.
And so I think that we kind of find ourselves in a position where it's like, one, we have to be more, we have a responsibility.
Yeah.
And then we feel that we need to exercise that really well and all the time, as often as we can, so that we can encourage more black people to come into this space. And we also feel that, like, even in recruiting and how we recruit, the work that we can do there as well, because we know that in order to be able to get more black people, black and brown, into coffee, it is saying, hey, like, we'll teach you the coffee. You come in with the positive attitude, the respect for your teammates. And you have an interest in coffee, we can take you from there. We can teach you coffee.
Yeah.
And we want to do that. We want to create the requirements, especially for entry, to be something that is more based on, we want to teach, we want to bring in. And so that's something that we're wanting to also, like, continue to work on and do at a higher level. And even if that means even internships, those are the things that we're looking at too. But it is lonely, and we're very fortunate now that we have many others, or not many others, but we have a few others in the coffee space here in our neighborhood, right? So we've got Black Coffee Northwest. We've got Solomon Doobie with Cafe Avo. Man, I'm blanking out. But
no,
yeah, it's just Mellow Cafe, and just so many more. Brian, and I think that needs to happen more. And supporting, and even I think in the simple things that we kind of take advantage of is, even a conversation,
Mhm.
sharing that information about like, how did you get into coffee? What
Mhm.
did it take? Or, how'd you go about it? And I'm considering this, so on a
Mhm.
weekly basis, at least, I'm talking to somebody who's wanting to
Mhm.
get into coffee. That's beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm glad that one, that folks feel approached, that they can approach me about it. Great, because I want to be able to shed that. There shouldn't be a cost for that information.
Mhm.
It should be easily available, should be for free. But then that there's this excitement and interest to get into it.
Mhm.
And as whether it's Boon Boonas or Black Coffee Northwest keep growing, I hope that it does bring more Black people into coffee.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm hopeful for it.
This Black Coffee Northwest, the first time I'm hearing about that.
Oh, what? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, no.
I'm kind of late to the show, man.
Yeah,
You gotta
Black
hit me
Coffee
up, bro.
Northwest. Oh no, they're led by, it's a beautiful cafe led by two incredible individuals,
Mhm.
Darnisha and Irwin. And I mean, talk about just folks that are doing it really well, like in the community,
Uh-huh.
providing a space to educate, to train.
Mhm.
I mean, they're rock stars. I mean, they're incredible. Not only
Wow.
are they like just super sweet
Uh-huh.
individuals, but then also like what they're doing is very inspirational.
Uh-huh.
They've also been, because of the work that they do, they also get targeted a lot.
Yeah.
Their place has been vandalized a few times.
Yeah, I
Um,
heard about this. Like, what the hell did they keep on and being targeted? What the hell's going on? What the hell are all these damn haters? I mean,
uh,
because when it comes to minorities owning businesses versus white folks, we're really, really, really small. I mean, we're not,
yeah,
threatening nobody. I mean,
yeah,
like we're like the big boys, like Starbucks or something like
yeah,
that. I
yeah.
mean, why? I mean, who's these haters out here?
Well, I think that's just the history of it, right? I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
just a reflection of you do so much good and you're empowering those that have not been heard, or
Mm.
being a voice for those that have not been, or shining light on people that have not had the light shine on.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I think you will become a target for that. And so I think Darnisha and Irwin have, you know, that's the character that they are. They
Yeah.
are good individuals who are doing all this great work, and sadly, there's negativity,
Uh-huh.
and there's those that are in the wrong place,
Yeah.
and target for just out of hate,
Yeah.
and fortunately, they continue to move forward.
Hmm.
They continue to encourage others. They continue to do right. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think that's a light that anyone can put out. So
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm very fortunate to have them.
Wow, that's really good. So, what's your next move, man? You gonna open up another spot? You're gonna expand? What's up?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we're on the Ave right now, so
Uh
yeah,
huh.
we're about to open up inside the UW bookstore over here.
Oh, serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
so we're gonna
damn.
be,
So you
yeah.
just a stone's throw away from the studio, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not
shoot.
it's not far. Yeah, so we're excited by that, and so we're working on that. The build out is happening. Of course, with any build out, it just always takes a little bit longer than you anticipate,
Mm-hmm.
but fortunately, we're gonna be there.
Uh huh.
We're grateful for it.
Uh huh.
We're excited by the opportunity to be close to the UW campus and on the Ave, and see, you know, hopefully, a different experience for coffee to happen here on the Ave.
Mm-hmm.
Really looking forward to it, and we've got great partners with the UW bookstore and even UW Alumni Association and such. They were the ones that really reached out and
Uh huh.
made this opportunity available to us.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't necessarily looking for another space. I'm like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
I have one, I've got two, that's
Mm-hmm.
plenty.
Yeah.
Like I need to dial those things in.
Mm-hmm.
But we're grateful for it, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we're excited by that. We're in QFC
Uh huh.
with our coffee there. We've got other partnerships, as well out there, and a lot of friends that have cafes that carry our coffee as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, man, we're grateful for it all.
Don't hold back, man.
No, we're grateful for it all.
I'm unapologetic when it
Yeah,
ties to pumping up black
yeah,
business because
no,
we're black folks. We've always been consumers. We need to
yeah,
be on the other side and be
yeah,
producers.
yeah,
And let's be real. They don't make no apologies to you about making money. I mean,
Nah,
they
nah,
make billions and billions of dollars, and they'll keep on making that money.
without a
And
doubt,
so
without
many
a doubt.
black people are just doing so much stuff around the Seattle and around the country as well. A lot of
Yeah,
black folks doing a lot of stuff from bread, wine, shoes, everything. And I really grip really am getting tongue tied here. It's really great that we're doing so much because I want people like younger people
yeah,
especially try to move away from, oh, I want to grow up to be a basketball
yeah,
player or a rapper or
yeah,
dance. And
yeah,
no, why don't you go ahead and be like this business brother over here?
mm,
Because that's what a lot of white folks
yeah,
do. But they got plenty of people they can look up to.
yeah,
Unfortunately, for black people, we don't have that.
yeah,
And we just got to go ahead and change up and switch up the stereotype and the narratives and
yeah,
start being business owners
yeah,
ourselves,
yeah,
so they can have a model or something that they can look forward to. Like,
yeah,
hey, I want to be this dude. This dude's making good on money.
yeah,
He's making good money, got a nice car,
yeah,
got clothes and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
And that's what we need to be doing. Like, hey, I
yeah,
want to be a business owner, not
yeah,
just, go to school, get a job, and work for the man.
right,
No, I want to be on the opposite
right,
edge. So, what kind of advice would you go ahead and give somebody else who wants to start a business, period, especially here
yeah,
in Seattle?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot there, First, I mean, I would say that as for our community, I think were the challenges are great for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely subjected to a lot more, and no different than as I was kind of sharing my story. My story to try getting funding started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And when nobody's saying, yeah, hey, here you go. No, I had to
Mm-hmm.
go kind of like sell my coffee out of the trunk of my car
Uh-huh.
and to get into these mom and pop grocery stores. But once again, that was my community supporting me as well.
Mm.
And I think that realizing that there are those systematic things that are against us that we'll have to keep trying to push against. But I say that in the as black and brown businesses that want to collaborate more often and to support one another,
Mm-hmm.
encouraging one another, that makes us stronger. I think
Mm-hmm.
that as siloed individual businesses, it makes it much more challenging,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a time like that we just passed right now.
Yeah.
The pandemic was a very,
Yeah, it hit
it knocked
everybody,
out probably
small
about
business,
forty
hell.
percent of
Yeah.
black-owned businesses,
Uh-huh.
and so the impact was huge to our community.
Yeah.
And the reason is that because of the lack of access to capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes back to that same thing, those institutions. But I'd say that we were able to collaborate with like so many other small
Mm-hmm.
businesses and even just sharing ideas and
Yeah.
getting information as to kind of, oh, there's this grant available, oh, there's this opportunity available,
Mm-hmm.
you know that, and just that genuine love,
Mm-hmm.
and coming and supporting, not asking for that discount. It's like, yo, I'm gonna come and support and
Exactly.
do what I can to support that business.
Uh-huh.
you know that does a lot. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say that our survival, or mm, the ability for Boon Boona to make it even up until this part, has been that of full community support.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, off of my own whims, off of my own abilities, nothing would not like that's not true. Or any
Mm-hmm.
institution supporting me. No, it's our community. And so realizing the strength of our community
Mm-hmm.
that will get us through those difficult times, and collaborating, whether it's we did ice cream, we did a beer. We were doing whatever it took,
Mm-hmm.
and it was with other black and brown businesses that got us through it. And so, not operating as a silo, but as a community,
Mm-hmm.
will produce the success for our community. And I think that recognizing that, we have a lot of talent, of course,
Mm-hmm.
in our community. We're very fortunate, very blessed in that sense. And then we can pull together those resources,
Mm-hmm.
and things can come to light. And there's going to be other coffee
Mm-hmm.
businesses that are going to be born, that are going to go take it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of faith in our youth. I definitely have a lot of faith in not only our youth but our elders as well.
Mm-hmm.
One is to pass down a knowledge, but then two, is to then help
Mm-hmm.
support those individuals that are trying to come up and start their businesses, whether it is buying product from them, or just even vouching for them.
Yeah.
If you can't give to someone, at
Mm-hmm.
least speak about that person.
Yeah.
Is what is a saying traditionally, you know, in Eritrea. So like in Tigrinya, we would say, "Katubalu detril, tazarabalu," which means the same thing basically. Like if you can't do for somebody, at least speak the good that they've done,
Mm-hmm.
and hype them up. Speak, encourage.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a long answer to this, to that question, but I just think that we th- I'm hopeful. I know it can work, but it's as a community that it works. It comes together.
Mm,
And it's not like in history we haven't done that. We've done that tons of times.
yeah.
We've had other things that have come against us though. But we're we're hopeful. I'm hopeful for
Okay,
it,
on
man.
that note,
Mhm.
go ahead and pop your collar. Did you
Yeah.
win like the 2002 22 Small Businessman Award or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I did. It was for Washington State and then for the region. So
Uh-huh.
for like Alaska, Oregon, Washington State, and Oregon. Yeah, Idaho, something
Man,
like that. Yeah.
that's really good, man. That's
I
really
appreciate
good.
it. Yeah, I'm very grateful for it and the acknowledgement. You know, very grateful for it.
Well, man, you've been a really great guest. This is my
I
man
appreciate
again,
it.
Efram Fesaha,
Yeah, Fesaha.
and Boon Boona Coffee.
Boon Boona Coffee. That's
Man,
right.
we
Yeah,
got 2 locations, about to open up a third
I
one.
appreciate it.
Definitely go ahead and support this man, especially, you want to help black folks out and stuff like that, be all woke, that's all good and everything, but we need that money, okay? You want to help the black businessman out, sure, go ahead and throw down them green dollars and support our businesses so we can have these little kids grow up and have role models and encourage other people in the black community to go ahead and stop working for the man and open up your own business and do your own stuff. And that's what the whole point of my show. That black folks are just doing so much good, so much greatness out here in the community, and we do need role models just like yourself.
I
So thanks
appreciate
a
it.
lot, man. You've been a really great guest.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I have
Honored to
to
be
have you
here.
back when you open up your third one, man. I'll be able to
It'd be my
step on
pleasure.
in there and get some of that. You got ice cream too, right?
Yeah. We partner actually with our friends down the street too, Sweet Alchemy.
Uh huh.
They've been using our coffee into their ice cream for some time, and then we sell their ice cream at ours.
Yeah.
That's another small business,
Yeah.
woman, Asian owned, business that's
Yeah.
doing a lot of great things, and so we
Hmm.
collaborate. Collaboration is key. It's huge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you definitely got the market for it. I mean, you definitely everybody's addicted to stuff, man. I can't. I had 2 or 3 of them before I even came to the show and
Yeah.
stuff. So, man, thanks a lot for being on That Ain't Black podcast from Boon Boona Cafe.